What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Geeks and Company in another episode of the Geek Boutique podcast. That's right. This week we're back with another top 10 lists. Top 10 retro toys. Guys, we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff from our childhood. We're going down nostalgia lane. And we've got a special guest with us. Well, I don't know how special because I feel like he's a semi-regular on the show now. Mr. Snowhawk Cosplay. How you doing, bud?
Good. And if you saw the Instagram technical difficulties pre-show, you know that I am out in my bunker. So we're talking about toys, have to be in the bunker where this is a building I built for my G.I. Joe collection.
For those of you who are actually listening to us on, well, whatever podcast platform you might be listening to us on, you're missing out because that's insane back there. You're going to have to turn on the lights a little bit later so we can actually check out what's going on there because... Guys, there is a lot of toys in there, and it's all G.I. Joe.
All G.I. Joe. So this has been 41 years of collecting.
Yeah, my man is bonkers here.
Jennifer's already laying down like if Rubik's Cube doesn't make it, I quit. So the theme, guys, this week we're going to be talking about retro toys, top 10 retro toys. But before we get to that, we want to remind everybody that's already in the channel watching. We already have a bunch of people watching us live. And if you came over from Instagram, that's great. Please, while you're here on YouTube, throw us a subscribe for the Geeks & Co channel. It helps us out tremendously. We have a goal for this year. We are creeping ever closer to it, but we need your help. Throw us a subscribe if you haven't already. Share it on your social media and get other people to subscribe for us. And if you do throw a like and a comment as well, that helps to propagate it on the algorithm and get other people's eyeballs on it, people that are not already subscribed. We got new people watching. JS and I recorded our Mandalorian after show yesterday for the season finale of that. We recorded our Picard after show for the series finale of that today. And I'm not going to lie, if you watch that one, you're going to see a couple of old white guys crying. That's
yeah.
But we're not going to talk about it because I don't want to start crying live on the podcast.
I mean, I almost want to throw something at you and see you going live right now.
No. Shut your filthy horn. Can I mute him somehow? Hold on. Can I? Where's the mute for it? I can't.
An episode.
Mute him, damn it.
No, okay. Let's not. I won't talk about the actual episodes, but
I can't mute him. Yes. Woo! There we go. Yeah. Good to know. Good to know I can do that.
You're hilarious. Guys, we say it every week. This show has been insane. I even if you're not into Star Trek, well, I guess maybe if you're not into Star Trek, none of this means anything to you, right? Like it's making us cry because they're hitting all those nostalgia, points that are just killing us. Oh, it's so good.
It is so good. But already
go watch our after show.
People are squawking in the channel about this retro toys. Our buddy Andrew Saxon, Ill Gotten Hugs, is saying, I'm going to flip a table if Big Wheels don't make their retro toy list.
Well, first of all, what's up, Andrew? And let's see here. I'm trying to get this list up on screen so we can
Jennifer
start
already. So producer Jen will not be with us tonight. She typically is lurking in the background to help us with all these technical stuff. But love you, boys. I'm off to my meeting. I'll watch and yell at my screen later. Don't screw this one up. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Jen. That's wonderful. Producer Jen and I were spoiled kids, says her sister Jamie. I am shocked. Shocked, I tell you. You both act like you were spoiled kids. For sure. Anyways, joining us, of course, as we already said at the top of the broadcast, is Snowhawk Cosplay. Ed, how are we feeling? How's it going? It's been a minute since you've been on. You've been on a lot, but it's been a while. How have things been lately? How have things since we last seen you?
Yeah, because Ed, I mean, had some mishaps since he was on.
But the last time we saw him was the mustache episode, and when we talked about men's health and everything else, and then of course you go and break your fucking foot. That's men's physical health, but hey, it's still there. But how are you doing? How's the healing process going? Give us an update.
I've got the cast off, so I'm very stubborn, and they said, look, we can put you in a walk. We can put you in a walking boot, but if you try walking on it, you'll do more damage. So I said, cast it up so I can't do anything. So yes, I was stuck on the couch for 30 days, which drove me nuts. It was hard to not go to Toronto Comic Con, especially since basically had plans for like days before. So that one stung hard, but I do appreciate all the shout outs and love from you guys. It made me tear up, but I didn't record that for posterity. Now I'm back to work. I was working from home, but now I spend most of my work day on the road visiting customers.
Road again.
Yep. So I just got back from Halifax this morning, and
again.
Next week I'm off to Calgary. So I have another 3 weeks of wearing a boot, and then I should be back to working out and doing all the things I do for my mental health, like cosplay. And like talking about toys. Hi friends. Hello Victoria. Good to see you. Yeah, we are talking retro toys. And like we said earlier, if you can kind of see a little bit of it. We're going to get Ed to show it off a little bit later on, but there's a reason why we have Ed here today to help us talk about retro toys. And I want to mention too, guys, retro toys for us three, we're all of an age. I think JS is the oldest. No, I'm just kidding. I'm clearly the oldest, but we're all of an age. And he just looks older than I do. We're all of an age, so for a lot of us, it's going to be like the same toys that we grew up with. By the way, we're talking about like our top 10.
You just wish you were this young and good looking. No, I'm just.
You're right. I do. I'm insanely jealous. We are talking about our top 10 toys of all time, and I know there's going to be some of our friends out there who are like, "We need some criteria, Jeff." Well, fuck you. Too bad. I don't care. No. We are talking about toys. We're not talking about board games. We're talking about anything that's considered a toy. And we're talking about franchise toys. We're not going to be like the Chewbacca from 1978 or whatever, like limited edition. Like it would be Star Wars toys. Like we're going to talk IPs and franchises, that type of thing. So,
although to the delight of,
I agree.
You know what? Maybe we'll get into that when we get to that category, because we will at one point. Somebody made a suggestion that went on screen. I think it was Andrew. What was that suggestion?
He said Big Wheel.
Well, there we go.
You want to start with Big Wheel?
Big Wheel in our pre-show.
Yep.
I would play the trump card on that one, or the veto card, because a Big Wheel is more like a bicycle or a tricycle. So yes, it is a branded toy, but I wouldn't put it in the same category as this.
So here's where I would, and this is me playing devil's advocate here, and where I would brand this as a toy versus
fucking this up already. When I say there's no goddamn criteria, and you guys started arguing with the goddamn criteria.
Well, we said it has to be a toy. So
Jesus Christ.
Is
now we're doing the definition of what a toy is.
So for me, a big wheel is a toy, because where a bicycle and a tricycle is a mode of transportation, a big wheel was never meant to be a mode of transportation. It was meant to be I'm gonna race my buddy on my big wheel, right? Like it was like a race car. It wasn't a commuter car, right?
Here's what I would argue. My argument for that is actually even simpler than that.
Okay.
If you went to the department store to buy a big wheel, Ed, what section of the department store did you go to? The bike section or the toy section?
It's on the back wall with the bike racks.
It is not on the back wall with the bike racks. What are you talking about? You had to put the big wheel together. Yeah, no, you bought it in the toy section for sure.
Yeah, the big wheel was in the toy section.
I mean, where I grew up, it was. Maybe I don't know where you grew up. I'm assuming you grew up in the Barrie area. Maybe they had it in the bike section there, but
I don't know. I guess by the time I got to walking down the aisle for G.I. Joe, Transformers, Masters of the Universe, Thundercats, and Brave Star, no big wheels there, so I never considered it a toy.
Right, but those were all action figures. They had other aisles, Ed, that had other toys in them. I don't know if you know this or not, but there are other aisles that they sell other toys.
Do you think I spent any time in any other aisle?
No, that's why I'm trying to educate you, redneck fuck. Come on.
Okay. I will accept Big Wheel as a toy. And it's obviously just going to go on the number one slot right now because there is nothing else.
Jamie keeping us honest, arguing over the only criteria. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting it out of the way now.
But we'll see as we get down the lists where Big Wheel actually ranks.
Now, right now, JS, the faithful can't see where the list right now, right?
I know, because there is nothing on the list but the word That's Big fine. Wheel.
No, I got you.
Yep. Who wants to get this party started? I mean, I kind of feel obligated to let Ed start and just go off the rockers with G.I.
Ed? What is he going to pick?
Look at the friggin' bunker over there.
Why don't you swerve us, Ed, and pick something?
G.I. Joe!
G.I. Joe, number one on my list, number one with a bullet.
Now,
You
is
want me
that
to go into
with?
the history of GI Joe?
Is that
got
no?
the full-
We it's only an hour-long podcast, sir. Now, is that with or without the kung fu grip? I want to know. It's very important.
Now, well, if you want to talk about the franchise itself, it's one continuous toy line since 1964. They changed the size and all that kind of stuff. But my pure love when it comes down to GI Joe is anything from 1982 on, when they created the Real American Hero, where we got Duke and Snake Eyes and General Hawk and Storm Shadow. Because even now, if you take, for example,
Well, what preceded that?
Well, see, before, like, the first GI Joe was the 12-inch figure, and then, during different
because
eras,
the original GI Joe was just a figure, was it not?
Yeah, they were just regular fighting guys. It wasn't until it became Adventure Team, and then it was branded GI Joe, so it was GI Joe with Adventure Team. 82 is when Real American Hero came out, as I'm showing, some of the figures, and so that's when they actually created a storyline and characters. That's where I fell in love with GI Joe. So GI Joe versus Cobra, I consider it one storyline because I'm holding in my hand a retro carded Baroness, and then the 6-inch classified Baroness. So I consider it one line because if you're collecting, there's some people who like the 3 3/4, they like the 6-inch. To me, it's one collection. So number one on my list is GI Joe. Always will be.
I think it goes without saying that a lot of the toys in the 80s, and I know we've discussed this before on the show, but a lot of the toys in the 80s came along with an attached TV show, right? They wanted to put out a line of toy. Well, let's make a TV show that the kids are going to love, so they'll want to buy the toy, right?
If you really want good education on action figures, toys, and the marketing in the 80s towards us 80s kids, go watch The Toys That Made Us on Netflix.
It's amazing.
It basically explains that regulation changed in the early 80s that opened up the door that toy companies could create a product to help.
Well, no, the problem is that the law came out saying that you're not allowed to advertise directly to the kids. Well, I don't need to advertise directly to the kid because I'm going to make a product.
Yeah,
I'm going to make a TV show, and I'm just going to associate my toys to this. So I'm not advertising to the kids, right? That's how they were getting around that law. Which, listen, go watch a TV show, guys. Is it 10 episodes?
There's
I
3
think
seasons,
10 or 12 episodes.
12 episodes, 3 seasons, and they basically cover most of the stuff that we're going to be talking about tonight.
Oh yeah, I'm sure if we talk about it today, it's probably in that show. Although I've got some toys on my list that precede the 80s, so that are quite older, actually.
Toxic Foxing. I demand girly representation with my Polly Pockets, the ones before Mattel bought them. We will get to your suggestions, guys, over the course of. Don't you worry.
We will.
Yeah.
We
have a spot reserved for Polly Pockets, Brittany. It's right around number 19. I'm sure it's number 1 in your heart, but
let's see here. Well, on my screen here, Jeff, you're next. So you're next.
I was going to use one, but I'm going to do another one instead, just because we're trying to get all the heavy hitters out of the way first, right? Isn't this usually the way it works?
Totally up to you, but I feel like you're going to go for my number 1 right now. So
then I'll swerve.
You.
No, I will swerve. I'm going to say what I think should be number 1, hands down, is Barbie.
Probably.
And I don't know how. I don't even know what argument you could launch against. I don't know if there's another toy that's ever permeated the collective consciousness across the globe like that doll has.
If you want to, I have no problem with Barbie being number 1 for no other reason that it is the highest revenue grossing toy ever.
Yeah, there's
probably by far.
Yeah.
In 2014 alone, Barbie generated $3 billion worth of sales.
Yeah. As much as I don't want to pick it right now with that horrific looking movie coming out and that terrible filter that's going all over the goddamn internet right now, you cannot quite. It's like when we were talking about the heroes and the villains and stuff. You would have to go to some remote part of the planet that's never had access to some part of the Amazon jungle where they've never had human contact to find somebody that doesn't know what a Barbie is. Like,
my grandma knew what Barbies were.
it would
And
definitely
I
pass
would bet you
Robbie's
money that
grandma
my
test.
great grandmother would probably know who Barbie was.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing, so even on my list, every toy I have has ceased production at some point.
Mhm.
Barbie
Right.
hasn't.
Yeah.
Barbie has continually been produced, continually had strong sales ever since the 50s. So, no, I have no problem. Yes, I know what G.I. Joe means to me, but I have no problem with Barbie being number one on the list.
I think it has to be. Like, we're going to talk about some other stuff, but I don't know what argument you could possibly launch against it. It's such a hugely iconic thing for generations of girls. I mean, I love a big wheel too, don't get me wrong, but I mean, and G.I. Joe was fantastic. And we'll talk about what a lot of people paired up with their G.I. Joes, although Barbies and G.I. Joes had a lot of interaction as well from the technical difficulties pre-show that we were talking about. So,
yeah. Actually, these don't need to be underlined, really. So I mean, I 100% agree. Barbie, yeah, it passes the grandma tests. It is by far, it has to be the biggest selling toy of ever. 100%.
and it's still selling. I have a feeling we're going to talk about some toys because they're retro toys that were for nostalgia's sake. Like a Big Wheel is a good example. Like we'll talk about it from a retro point, but there was like a point. Big Wheel's a moment in time. I'm pretty sure they're not making big wheels anymore, or they probably don't call it a big wheel or whatever it would be. But like, there's going to be toys on this list that were popular in the 80s that just never came around again. Barbie, though, from its inception, like Ed just said, they've never stopped making Barbie. It's never stopped being popular.
Even when sales in Barbie dipped, they were still making money. Like,
yeah, that's
for
Mattel,
sure.
Mattel is a powerhouse because of Barbie.
Absolutely.
And two other properties that are on my list.
Yeah. Now, did the toy spend most of its life being incredibly sexist and probably did more damage than good for young women growing up? Yeah, probably. Like, let's be fair. It was never the most politically correct toy. I know they've done a lot of work a little more recently to get it more in line with what it should be. But I mean, yeah, it's still such an iconic toy for little girls across the planet for generations. Again,
it's beloved by millions.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's only, and this is not my number one. And Barbie, I didn't think Barbie would be my number one, but now that you mention all these things, it probably should be number one. The only one that I think comes close in terms of sales, longevity, popularity, has to be the Star Wars action figure line.
Now, first of all, let's get G.I. Joe up on the list there. So we got Barbie at number 1, and we got Big Wheel at number 2.
Yeah. Well, G.I. Joe, I mean,
G.I. Joe's definitely got to go number 2 for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
On this particular list. G.I. Joe.
There you go.
So is Star Wars the Kenner action figure? The Kenner wave?
That would be the initial. That would be the
initial.
Wave.
Again, I see it all as one, right?
So
from the initial Kenner to the new stuff to the Black Series to, I mean, just like Barbie, right? There's so much that's been available out there. I mean, up until recently, and when I mean recently, I mean just pre-pandemic, you were still seeing full Star Wars aisles at Walmart, at Canadian Tire, at Toys R Us, full aisles. Now, these days, you'll be lucky if you have one shelf, but it's still around.
So something like Star Wars, especially 1977, the Kenner released figures, the ones that we grew up with, that was very instrumental in changing the whole action figure business. Correct. Because at that point, G.I. Joe was 8 inches. The oil boom, again, more stuff you can learn about during Toys That Made Us. But Star Wars, they went to 3 3/4, made it cheaper to make, easier to collect, and you can get more of them. And basically, everybody followed suit.
Oh yeah, it changed the collectibles market forever. Yeah, there's no question. As far as 100%. Like the toys, I mean, I would think between Barbie and G.I. Joe.
The The Star Wars movies made $7 billion. The Star
In
Wars
the
toys,
70s and 80s.
yeah, but the Star Wars toys made $14 billion.
Yeah.
So Star Wars has outgrossed pretty much anything that the movies have ever done.
No,
So,
it's always been about merchandising. It's never been
Yeah.
about box office. They could give a shit about the box office of the movies. Just like what we talked about earlier. They use the movies to sell merchandise.
Yeah.
And you're
So
just talking
I would
about the toys, by the way. You're not even talking about overall Star Wars merchandise. That's just the toys.
Yeah.
No,
Hilarious.
So I could even see Star Wars
Yeah.
being
Above
above GI Joe, mainly because of how much money they sold and their influence on the industry.
Yeah, it has to make you wonder, like, an IP like that, like selling it for $4 billion seems cheap when you think of the toy dynasty that Star Wars built for Disney to almost do nothing with it. Like I said, you barely see any Star Wars toys anymore.
Well,
I don't.
supply and demand, part of that. But that we should probably cover that on a Star Wars episode, which I'm sure we will. Don't
So
get me wrong.
where do we agree to put Star Wars here? We put Star Wars at 2?
I think we put Star Wars at 2.
I'd put
think
Star
we-
Wars at 2.
I
I'm
think we
okay with
have
that.
to. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Those crazy Far Wars.
We would be back down to Ed.
Well, let's go now. I'm looking in the chat here. I do have female representation on my list because I've
Well,
also
fuck, we got Barbie at number 1. What do you want?
Well,
Jesus.
then let me go with the next one. My Little
Right.
Pony.
There you go.
Yeah.
Everybody,
My Little
guys.
Pony was huge.
Ed's got a whole other bunker for his My Little Pony collection. He's a brony. Nobody knows this. I'm one of the few that's seen it. That bunker's twice the size of this bunker. You should see that thing. Woo. Go in
It's all
there with
covered in
shoes
rainbows.
and gloves on, kids. Don't go in there in bare feet. You will regret it.
But if you look at any 80s kid, early 90s kid, even Friendship is Magic, how many girls, or I guess now guys, grew up with My Little Pony in their life at some point? My sister collected My Little Pony. My cousin was a My Little Pony nut. She had everything My Little Pony. So
I'm gonna interrupt Ed here, and I'm just gonna point it out just so that he can hear it. But if you're wondering what the clicking sound you're hearing, it's Ed playing with his clicking pen, and he goes click, click.
I was gonna say something earlier. I'm like,
click,
no, I'm gonna let him have it.
So
the same
My
thing
Little
happens on the
Pony,
podcast.
Yeah, I know.
That's a good pick because My Little Pony is one of those properties that, yes, it did disappear for a while, but came back, and then disappeared for a while and came back and disappeared. You know what I mean? Like it just keeps coming back.
Yep.
And let's be honest. I mean, it's every time it comes back, it's a hit.
Yep.
They've been again making toys. Now you don't see a lot of My Little Pony toys anymore, but back in the day, they were everywhere.
Longevity is a thing, and you're going to find, I think, for a lot of the toys that we're talking about, there are waves. There are certain toys that will kind of wax and wane depending on whatever's in the zeitgeist for that particular time frame and stuff. My next pick is going to be one of those, but yeah, it's My Little Ponies. It was fucking huge, and it's gotten huge again, and it will probably come around and get huge again. And it's had movies and TV shows and cartoon TV shows. So yeah, I'm sure there was. Were there comics? I'm sure there was probably comics. Were there trading cards?
Probably.
I'm not a brony.
Probably.
I don't know. So I don't. Yeah.
A what? You keep saying something. You're not a what?
Brony. So guys that are into My Little Pony, there's a documentary called Bronies. There are guys that are into My Little Pony are called bronies.
They're called bronies.
They're called bronies. Yeah. You've never heard this before? That's what I was just saying to Ed. Ed's got a whole other bunker full of My Little Pony. He's a brony.
Well, I heard you say that, but I didn't understand what you called him. And you said it again. I let it slide.
Bronies.
The first time,
It's an actual thing.
The more you know, folks.
And it's just as weird as it sounds. But hey, we're not here to shame anybody, all right? If that's your thing and you like that.
Hey, listen. Okay. Yeah, I have no issues with anybody liking anything. I just think that the term bronies seems a little
weird.
Yeah. Where do we put it?
Number 4 right now.
You think? Over Big Wheel?
Oh, yeah.
Definitely over Big Wheel. Weird Al was on My Little Pony, says our buddy Myers Corp. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's awesome. I'm a huge Weird Al fan. That's cool.
The one thing about the Big Wheel is the Big Wheel was branded My Little Pony, Cabbage Patch Kids, Chips. You guys remember Chips?
Of course, Chips. Are you
Like it
kidding me?
was branded different things, right? So that's where the power of the sales of the big wheel was. It didn't matter what you were into. There was a big wheel for you.
Yep.
But in that case, if it's branded with another brand, what sold it? The big wheel or the other brand?
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, they sold so many of them. Who knows, right? It'd be interesting if we could somehow find out what brand of big wheel sold most. That would be an interesting fact. But Jeff.
Okay, I'm gonna go off. I'm gonna go off brand because it's not a IP branded toy. It'll be the first non-IP branded toy, the yo-yo.
Oh, okay.
Classic toy, still in production today, has never not been. It started in production in the 1920s, so it's been around for over 100 years.
Yeah,
around 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those ones too that waxes and wanes. I remember when I was in school back in the 80s, they had a guy come to our school who was like an international yo-yo champion. By the way, they still have national yo-yo championships.
They do.
This dude did stuff with a yo-yo that we all in our little 5th grade minds were just fucking blown away by. And then the next week, it was on a Friday, and Monday, half the kids in that schools had yo-yos, and everybody's trying to do yo-yo tricks and everything else. There you go. Smothers Brothers yo-yo time. Yeah, for sure. We had one of those guys come through too. Yeah, that was a huge thing.
I'm going to be a little bit of a Scrooge here for you.
Sure.
Every you said half the school bought yo-yos that day, right? And we're playing with yo-yos
that weekend. Yeah.
That weekend, yeah. How long did they play with them for before they got all tossed in the garbage?
Well, because no one could do the tricks that guy was able to do tricks with. So exactly what Brittany's saying. I remember trying to learn all the yo-yo tricks and failing so hard, but it didn't affect the sales of the yo-yo, right? So there you go. They have massive world competitions.
I will say this: is that an assumption that because it's sold a lot means it's a good toy?
Well, top 10 toys is what we're talking about, right?
Oh, but okay, so that's what I mean, right? Like, is that
find a guy on the planet that doesn't know what a yo-yo is?
Oh, for sure. Even like I said, great grandparents know what yo-yos are, right?
The permutation throughout the collective consciousness is 100%. You would have to go to a non-technologically advanced civilization on the planet, and even then, I bet you they still got yo-yos. That's what Andrew's saying. It was a yo-yo is historically a weapon.
That's awesome.
I don't know. Neither, like you guys were like, I know we're going to talk about a lot of IP based toys. I get it, because that's what sold toys in the first place. But you can go down to your local dollar store right now and you can still buy a yo-yo. It's still on the market. It's still being made.
Most of the toys on my list are not IP based toys, and I'm not going to lie, we've only hit so far 3 on my lists.
Well, we've only got 5. That's not too bad. But we are like everybody in the like Devil Stick, Skippo. I saw Easy Bake Oven up there. Like it's still going to be a lot of like IP based toys, right?
Fair enough.
But anybody can make a yo-yo, especially if you had a wooden yo-yo. When you had those badass heavy wooden yo-yos, that you were the shit, man. Don't get them plastic. And then they had the ones.
Well, those ones actually worked, right?
Yeah,
like
you could put them
actually to yo-yo with.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so that still hasn't answered my question.
What was your question, sir? I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Where does it go?
Oh, well, I mean, I would put it pretty goddamn high, but I mean, you both are looking at me like you're a fucking statue over there. So clearly, you guys are not down with the yo-yo. So you tell me where that would go. Is it at least above a big wheel?
Yes.
Okay. Ed, where
potentially above My Little Pony, but I don't know that yo-yo goes over big brands. Like, do you know anybody that has bunkers full of yo-yos?
No.
I mean, there might be 1 or 2 people in the world, but I guarantee you there's more than 1 or 2 people in the world that have bunkers full of G.I. Joes.
Oh, I don't know that. I'm willing to bet you overall, though, there have probably been more yo-yos sold than G.I. Joes.
I would say, so what I would say, something like a yo-yo, probably almost everybody has owned a yo-yo at some point.
Agreed.
But what is the level of passion towards that yo-yo?
Not very high.
So
You're right. And that's why
Yeah.
I'm
So does
not
that make it
fighting
a
for
top
number
toy,
1 or 2.
right?
I
Yeah.
would be happy with
I would-
4 right now.
I would call it an iconic toy, but not a top
Yeah.
toy.
Yeah, I would call it number 4 myself, I think.
I'm absolutely fine with number 4. Listen,
And Megan is saying the same thing. Megan Avery's in the chat.
I don't take the shits. I just disturb them. Okay, like I'm just stirring pots here, boys. I'm
So
not.
you're good
making
with 4?
noodles. I'm fine with 4. I was fine with wherever. I figured it would be higher than Big Wheel. And I mean, fuck My Little Pony, but that's fine. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Toxic Fox. I'm kidding. Don't murder me. You're in London. Don't kill me.
So I'm gonna go right to my number 1. And I'm sorry, Jeff, if I'm taking it away from you.
Nope. I was specifically avoiding it because I knew you would say it.
When I was a child, there was one toy that I lived and breathed for. Obviously, the cartoon, Saturday morning cartoon, blew my mind the first time I saw it. And it was one of those things. Remember when I think I told you one time how I've watched Back to the Future probably 100 times. It's the same thing with Transformers. I've seen the Transformers TV shows countless times. I had a bunch of the toys. For me, listen, I had my Transformers displayed on a shelf in my bedroom. So when I was done playing with them, they would go back in their display poses and everything. And then if anybody was in my room touching them and playing with them, or my mom would come in and clean, and they'd be like, "Who touched my Transformers?" Transformers is my number 1, but again, I don't think it's necessarily the top one, but for me, big deal.
It's either 3 or 4. For me, it would be it would still be below Star Wars. It's about on par with G.I. Joe. For me, those two are almost interchangeable. So
yeah, I agree
tough.
there.
That's tough.
G.I. Joe and Transformers were just as there was only one other line of toys I think that was on par, which I'm sure we'll get to.
My only argument for Transformers would be, thanks to Michael Bay, obviously, they're still making Transformers. I'm sure they're still making G.I. Joes, but I mean, there's not really. Is there an active G.I. Joe thing in right now? Like as far as like either a show or a movie or series or anything like that? I know they just did Snake Eyes a couple of years ago, but
yeah. So when it comes down to Transformers, production of Transformers really never stopped, because when the property was starting to die off, then they came out with Beast Wars. And there's probably a whole bunch of people in the comments who were big Beast Wars fans because they're a younger generation than us. And then it started dying off again. So they come out back with the retro stuff, the 25th anniversary stuff. And then after that, then we get the Michael Bay.
Ed, even go back further. The movie. The movie introduced a whole line of brand new Transformers.
Well, but that was 86. That was 86.
Mm-hmm.
That was still at the height of
No, I know, but you know what I'm saying. Like they still introduced a whole new line to help boost sales and stuff.
And let's be honest, every generation has got a Transformers TV show. There's been Transformers TV shows on TV nonstop for the last 40 years, as far as I know. Anytime a show ends, they just reboot it into something else, and they reboot it into something else, and they just keep doing that over and over again. Toys have never stopped production. TV show has never stopped production. The movies exploded it. The first movie, I loved the first movie. They finally brought Transformers to the screen, even though they look kind of dumb. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't really like that much how they looked. I'm an original G1 Transformer fan myself.
Now, have you watched Bumblebee?
I have, and they look much better in Bumblebee.
Yes.
Yeah, because they're more G1 style. Soundwave is exact.
Yeah.
Soundwave is G1 Soundwave. It's like, holy shit, like this is like that. Their Prime was very, very close. Yeah, they were very cool.
Where does it go?
Much better than what's that?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Where are we putting this guy in the list?
For me, I think it has to be number 4. Number 3, sorry. But I'll let you two. I'm sure Ed's gonna say it should be number 4. I'm gonna say it's gonna be number 3. Jeff, I'll let you be.
Shit! Come on! I don't have to pick between you two. Wow, it's really hard because of course GI Joe's been around longer, like 20 years earlier, as far as that goes.
But
Man, but the
unfortunately,
popularity of Transformers probably eclipsed GI Joe at that point. So because
there,
I had
there,
both toys too, right? Like I had toys from both lines.
Oh yeah.
so basically, GI Joe stopped production from 1993 up until 2002.
Did they really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
The line was canceled in 1993. They brought in 1997. They came out with the 15th anniversary wave. Then they relaunched in 2002, and it's been sort of in different various stages of release since then. Transformers never stopped. So just on that, I know where I'm sitting, but I would put Transformers above GI Joe.
Well, thank you. Now I don't have to be the third party in this fucking love triangle.
Also, Optimus Prime is one of my top 5 characters of all time.
Right.
Like I put him up there with Han Solo, Darth Vader. Like I love Optimus Prime.
Yeah, I agree. I love Prime. Although, is it weird that as much as I love Prime, if I ever did build a Transformers cosplay, it would probably be Megatron?
Like classic Megatron?
Yeah. Well, maybe, I don't know. I don't know which version, but I feel like
do Soundwave and have something on your chest where you can hit the fucking button and your fucking chest pops out and you take a goddamn Ravager. What are you talking about? Do Soundwave, man. That would be dope.
That would be something else.
Yeah.
There's a guy on Instagram that actually did transformable cassettes.
Yeah, perfect.
So his cosplay, the cassette comes out and he can turn it into Laserbeak or into Rampage or into not Rampage, Ravage. Or into whoever, the one with the stomping arm. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Whose turn is it now? It is Mr. Ed.
All right. Well.
Oh, he's rubbing his hands. Shit. Buckle up, kids.
By the power of Grayskull. He-Man.
And that's the third property that kind of goes hand in hand with G.I. Joes and Transformers for me.
Really?
Basically, as soon as He-Man hit, huge sales. 1987, in the toilet.
Well, did it ever really come back? Like I know they tried the movie and the movie failed, and I know they've really recently with the Kevin Smith stuff they tried to bring it back, but
they tried to reboot it. Well, they tried rebooting it in the 90s, didn't work. 2000s didn't really have the same strong sales.
Right.
Switched over to a collector's line that did well. In 2020, now we have the Masters of the Universe Origins, which is a
classic
80s
style. Yeah,
classic style.
They're nice. Don't get me wrong. They're super nice.
That's what got me back
Grayskull is not really what Grayskull was back then. Like it's smaller and it's just the facade. It doesn't have the back. Like it's the
same size. It's the same.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's the same.
No, but it doesn't clamshell. The new one.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go back and look at it because in the pictures that I saw in the box. Oh, you have it? Oh, okay.
Oh, I have the new one. I as soon as they released Masters Origins, I went all in. So now they got the collector's line of Masterverse, the Masters. Yeah, and this year they're coming out with Snake Mountain, the 6-inch or 7-inch collector's line. Whole bunch of cool stuff coming out. December they actually came out with the movie figures, so you can get Dolph Lundgren and Frank Langella as Skeletor.
I didn't even know they had that.
Oh, they were my toys of 2022. They are amazing. I love them so much. But yeah, I would put Masters.
Do you remember when they came out with the flip chests?
Yep.
They had battle damage, so you would flip it and it would look great, and then when you'd hit it, boom, it would flip over and it had damage on it. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world when I was a kid.
Which the new Origins line, they came out with Battle Damage Skeletor and Battle Damage He-Man, and then they came out with a special edition silver version with a bloodied up Battle Cat. So,
oh, you mean in this new line? Oh, really? Oh, I didn't see those either. Oh, look at that. Well, there you go.
Oh yeah,
well, folks, if you're the He-Man, go check it out.
That's in my office.
Yeah, lots of cool He-Man toys. I don't want to get into all the new He-Man shows because they've been trying to put out new He-Man shows constantly, and the weirdest one, funny enough, is the best one of them all. But let's decide where we want to put He-Man on here. I feel like He-Man has to go. I want to put it below G.I. Joe, but
I'm good with five or six.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe more 6. I kind of feel like, Sorry, chat. I hope you weren't too tied to He-Man. I don't think I saw any He-Man.
H-Man.
He-Man.
He-Man.
Jeff.
Oh, is it my turn again already? I'm gonna pick another weird one that hasn't been mentioned in the chat. Sorry, guys. You know what? No, fuck that. I am gonna go with the Easy Bake Oven. I gotta go with the Easy Bake Oven because, again, generations of. And what I liked about the Easy Bake Oven too, by the way, is a lot of the toys that we're talking about here are obviously back when toys were very gender specific. It was mostly boys that collected G.I. Joe, Transformers, and He-Man. It was mostly girls that collected My Little Pony and Barbie. But Easy Bake Oven was clearly marketed to girls, but I cooked like a motherfucker on that Easy Bake Oven, man. Like, you had an opportunity to make your own cool food. I wasn't a fat kid by accident, man. Like, I used the shit out of that. And it took a light bulb. That's all you needed to make that thing. And again, it's another one of those toys where I don't know that it's ever not been in production since it came out. And again, it's another one of those toys.
Easy Bake Oven.
If you say Easy Bake Oven to anybody that's been born in the last 40 or 50 years, everybody knows exactly what you're talking about. I don't think there's anybody that doesn't know or hasn't at one point in their lives owned or knew somebody that owned an Easy Bake Oven.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I think it's got to be on the list, man. It's one of the most iconic toys on the planet.
Where does it go on the list, and how do we rank that at this point? Do we want to? I mean, with the Easy Bake Oven, I mean, I feel like that was one of those toys that was a little bit more of an expensive toy. Like, not everybody had it, right?
Right.
I mean, then again, not everybody had every toy. That's not the point I'm trying to make. But like, for example, like my sister didn't have an Easy Bake Oven. Cousin did, right? But my sister never got one.
Dude, you had a GT Snow Racer. Shut up, man. You were super rich. You didn't have no GT Snow Racer.
Yeah, okay. I was super rich. Here we go.
There we go. Yeah, Tiana's even saying that. Her daughter's got an Easy Bake Oven right now. Like,
well, there you go.
And it's been around since the 60s. So, I mean, again, longevity. We're literally talking about a 70-year-old toy that's still around, still being made and bought and used. So,
yeah.
I mean, I think it's got to be relatively high on there. I would certainly put it above the yo-yo. I would be fine with it at 5 if you guys are fine with it at 5.
I'm good with it at 5.
Ed, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm just looking at the data on it. So it said 1997. In 1997, 16 million Easy Bake Ovens were sold since 1964.
That's a lot.
I could.
A lot of light bulbs.
I could see it going above He-Man or above the Yo-Yo. Like, yeah, I'm okay with 5 just because it's, 60 years of consistently being sold.
Yeah, but at the same time, and I'm going to use the same logic that I used a few minutes ago, you're never going to see someone with a bunker full of Easy Bake Ovens.
No.
Well, brother, you have 8 million different G.I. Joes. There's one fucking Easy Bake Oven. Like, you can't keep comparing it to one fucking line of things. When there's
the point is,
Ed, how many different figures of G.I. Joes are there, sir?
How many different figures or how many characters?
No, how many different individual pieces of G.I. Joes are there?
God.
Stop making, dude. You can't keep making that comparison.
Let me simplify that for you then, Ed.
Yeah.
How often do you go buy G.I. Joe toys?
Because there's 8 million. You're making the same argument.
How often do you go buy G.I. Joe toys?
You're making the same argument,
right?
Well, yeah.
Like, if you're gonna tell me that somebody like Ed, who's probably spent $10,000 on G.I. Joe toys, and you compare that to $128 Easy Bake Oven, like, come on,
brother. There's only one Easy Bake Oven. He's not buying the same G.I. Joe over and over and over again.
Well, no,
he's only buying them because there's a million different ones. You're not going to collect Easy Bake Ovens. There's only one of them.
Well, technically, there's more than one of them. Technically,
This
it's
is
been,
the problem
it's
when we
been
don't have
revamped over the
criteria,
years.
because really GI Joes probably should be in the collectibles market as opposed to the toy market. But I mean, at the end of the day, we played with them, so that's fine. It's a toy. I agree.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying. Like the collectible issue, the collectibleness of a toy doesn't necessarily make it a top toy, I guess, because it's not top collectibles, it's top toys, right?
Right.
So I get that for sure.
You hush, miss. Yes, criteria, says Megan Murray. No. You just shush.
You know,
and the other Megan over here saying they made shit cake, though. You shut your filthy mouth. Those cakes
and
are
that's
bomb
the thing.
ass. What are you
like,
talking about?
They were cooked with a friggin' 120-watt light bulb. Like,
Yeah,
don't
and
even
they
make
were
120-watt
goddamn
light bulbs
delicious.
anymore.
They were so good. Yeah, you can't cook these with an LED bulb. It's not going to work.
No, and I mean, if you
Cake's
left it
gonna
on,
take
you
4
could
days.
literally melt it.
Yeah, no, it's fucking fantastic, man.
Yeah, okay.
Anyways.
Who is next? Oh, I am next. I'm gonna include two toys in this because the two are kind of the same, and I'm just gonna say it's the Etch and Sketch and the Magna Doodle. For me, the Etch and Sketch and the Magna Doodle work in the same manner. The only difference is one you draw, the other one you've got wheels to draw. Like it's technically, for me, I always found it to be the same toy. Another toy that's been around for freaking, like, I feel like my parents probably had Etch a Sketches.
Yeah, JS, you know anybody that's got a bunker full of Etch a Sketches?
I do not. I also probably wouldn't put Etch and Sketch above G.I. Joe.
I fucking hated Etch a Sketches because I am not the least bit, and I'm watching people. Have you seen those people that can do like the fucking New York skyline on an Etch?
Dude,
I'm like,
crazy.
Fuck those people. I can't. Yeah, I didn't like Etch a Sketches because I have the artistic talent of a damp sponge. So it's not. I never got into it, but I get it. I understand the appeal. But you had to be like some savant wizard to be able to do anything of any real value on an Etch a Sketch.
Well, here's a little interesting thing. So looking at the how many Etch a Sketches do you think have been sold worldwide?
Well, do we know when the Etch a Sketch came along? Because I feel like that's a fairly old toy too.
1960.
It is another 60s toy. Okay.
Okay, and then how many Easy Bake Ovens are earlier? You said 16 million.
16 million.
Yes. So how many Etch a Sketches?
Etch a Sketches, I'm gonna say 35 million.
100 million.
There you go. There you go.
So
there you go.
Say,
again, about a tenth the price of an Easy Bake Oven, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now we're not just going by sales, guys. Obviously, right? Like we understand there's more to it than that, but
I would say something like with Etch a Sketch, the same as about my same argument with the yo-yo.
I was just about to say the exact same thing.
Not everyone had the same passion.
But when you realized you sucked with it, you only used it like 3 times, and then you never picked it up again. Now the Magna Doodle's a little bit differently because that I could play on a Magna Doodle all fucking day. Like that was cool. Or what? No, maybe I'm not thinking Magna Doodle. I'm thinking of the spiral one. Remember this? Remember the
there's Spirograph. Magna Doodle. Yeah, no, Magna Doodle was like Etch a Sketch. It was a magnet pen, and then you just wipe the slide to
okay, I do remember that.
Yeah.
That was more of a late 80s, early 90s toy.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Okay, so where do we want to put that? Man, you guys, by the way, we are seeing all of your, we're not ignoring anybody, but you guys are coming up with you guys have made a million different suggestions in there. I guarantee you we're not going to get to them all. I apologize, but you guys have put out some amazing suggestions in the chat. So, but we're already 50 minutes in and we only have 9 things on our list.
Wow. And I still have a shit ton that we haven't even gone over yet.
Something like Etch a Sketch, I would put like around a big wheel. 9 or 10.
I would agree, but
I feel like it should at the very least go above Big Wheel because I guarantee you they made more money selling Etch a Sketches than they did selling Big Wheels. I mean, they still sell them, for crying out loud. We're
not all about the money aspect of it, but I will agree with you that the Etch a Sketch is a more iconic toy. I will give you that.
And probably way more popular. Like I said, like ask some kids these days what a Big Wheel is.
Listen, don't fuck around, Ed. Justice for Big Wheel. Erica, where is Erica Adams? She was in the chat earlier. That bitch started this whole thing with the Justice for Biff. I hate every one of you. Ed, I hope you're ready to step up because you're about to be the co-host of this fucking podcast because I'm quitting this piece of shit.
Oh, dude, Geeks and Co merch.
Jesus Christ.
Just for Big Wheel.
I fucking Erica Adam, if you're watching this, fuck you for starting that trend. Terrible, awful. I was gonna say if the toy appeared in Toy Story, the Toy Story movies, then we should at least get like that. Should also get some. That was almost like the stamp of approval for like an iconic toy, and there is an Etch-a-Sketch in the Toy Story films.
So you're right. The big thing is that Toy Story specifically stayed away from branded toys.
I agree, but they still had an Etch-a-Sketch. So
100%. Yeah.
I hate Keith. I swear to God,
Erica is in the chat. That's hilarious.
And she said, "Put it on my tombstone, especially when it's Jeff that kills me." Yeah, you bet your fucking ass it's gonna be. And then Keith's got to get in there with his fuck justice for Erica. Listen, Keith, you're in London. I have a good idea where you live, sir. All right, you're next on the list.
I think Eduardo.
All right. Well,
next.
Oh man, I got a bunch of good ones still left on the list.
Me too.
But I would say, what was a crazier craze in the 80s than Cabbage Patch Kids?
Yeah.
Hard to argue that.
Yeah.
They were everywhere. I feel like it was a moment in time, but during that moment in time, there wasn't a bigger toy in the world.
No.
Now, it did seem to kind of fall off a cliff. And I don't know that it's ever really made much of a return, but when it was big, it was fucking everywhere.
Cabbage Patch Kids was one of those toys that like people were fighting over in stores.
Yeah.
Right. Like when they come in, people would fight over getting them, and then
Tickle
they'd be
Me
sold
Elmo
out.
was the same way. Yeah.
Tickle Me Elmo was another one that I put in the same
Yeah.
category as Cabbage Patch Kids. Right. They were again almost more of a collectible than an actual toy at that point. Like people just went nuts. Again, Tennis says Miley had a Cabbage Patch Kid. So there you go. So I guess they are still around.
They have gone through different it's more of a licensed product. So like it started in 82, but like Coleco, Hasbro, Mattel, Jakks Pacific, all of those companies had produced Cabbage Patch Kids at some
Interesting.
point.
So
it's more like a licensed property. Much like say WWE figures or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I guess it's the same thing. WWE wrestlers, there's been dozens of different kinds, right?
Yeah.
I already forgot the pick. What was the pick?
Cabbage
Patch Kids.
Oh, Cabbage Patch Kids.
That's bad that you've already forgotten.
Yeah.
Like I said,
so
it was a moment
me,
in time. There's no question it was a moment in time.
Yeah, that's my only thing about that is I understand it was very, very popular, and I understand they went through different variations, and they probably still have them around today, but there was only a really small period in time where they were really, really, really popular, and then that was it. Really.
And are you doing the research over there? What's the sales numbers for Cabbage Patch Kids?
It doesn't show the sales numbers, but it was 83 to 86 is its strongest sales.
Yeah.
Basically, by 88, Coleco went out of business and Hasbro took over the production rights.
Yeah, I would put it at the bottom of the list at this point. I understand it's something that a lot of people from our generation know, but if you go back or forward too far, you're going to find people that don't know what the fuck a Cabbage Patch Kid is. Like if I went to my
spell cabbage, I'm an idiot.
By the way, those two things are mutually exclusive, and it's CABB.
Yeah,
there you go.
Just in 1984 alone, $2 billion worth of Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yes, I am an idiot,
Yeah,
folks. FYI, I'm French. Just so you all understand here.
That's not why you're an idiot. It's not because you're French. There's lots of smart French guys. You're just not one of them. Anyways,
well,
no.
Okay,
You know I love you. If I went, I have a 22-year-old, a 20-year-old, and a 19-year-old, and I'm willing to bet you My 22-year-old may have a vague idea. I guarantee you my 19 and 20-year-old kids have no idea what a Cabbage Patch Kid is. None.
Yeah.
So, and I'm willing to bet that Robbie's grandma probably doesn't know what a Cabbage Patch Kid is either.
Hey, so first of all, so we've got Susie watching. What's up, Susie? Like, I haven't seen you guys in ages. I hope you guys get to come back to town at one point. Through the years, more than 130 million Cabbage Patch Kids were born. Celebrities from Ellen DeGeneres and Al Rooker had Cabbage Patch Kids look-alike made especially for them. They were everywhere. Yeah, they really were everywhere. And then they spawned a million clones, right? Because when people saw how big Cabbage Patch Kids were, there were a million like different collectible, give it a name, register its birthday toys, right? Like it was the big craze at one point. But again, disappeared or fell off the mat pretty quick.
No, and I get it, but I'm saying it. My Tantha saying her 13-year-old's on Cabbage Patch. Yes, probably because you've educated her on what that is, but they're not making them anymore, so it's not like it's not as prevalent in the market right now than it was back in the 80s, right? So, excuse me.
No, I'm good with it being. I still have a lot of good heavy hitters left on my list too.
Yeah, I do too. I think
we always know these ones go longer than typical because
yeah,
it's actually
Jeff's turn.
I got to go with Play-Doh.
Yeah, that was on my list.
Yeah, I mean, same thing. I don't know what the numbers are, and I don't know if it's ever gone out of production. But you can go out and buy Play-Doh right now. I have a feeling you've probably been able to buy Play-Doh since Play-Doh came out, which was I think, what was it, the 40s or the 50s that they made Play-Doh?
Yeah, the mid-50s,
right? Yeah. My guess is it's probably always been in production. I don't know if it's ever not been. Every kid's used it. Every kid's taken a bunch of colors and mashed them together and then immediately been filled with regret because there's no way you're ever going to get those apart again and have separate colors. Yeah, you can go and buy Play-Doh right now. You can go on Amazon right now and put in Play-Doh and you can buy Play-Doh right now. It's and I'm willing to bet it still does well because it's still one of those tactile toys that a lot of my son. So I've talked about this before. I haven't mentioned on the podcast a lot, but my son has special needs. He's autistic, and one of the coping mechanisms for a lot of autistic people, and especially kids, there's a lot of tactile things that help with when they're having a panic attack or when they're having issues. And Play-Doh is actually one of, now again, it doesn't work for everybody because autism is a spectrum, but it is one of the things that can help with people that have autism with that, just because of the way that as a parent, I fucking hate Play-Doh. Yeah. I mean, Play-Doh delicious. I mean, Homer Simpson proved it was non-toxic. So yeah, absolutely.
Well, between 1955 and 2005, 2 billion cans of Play-Doh were sold.
Yeah. And again, same thing. I don't know if there's anybody that knows that you know, you would have to go. So anybody in Western society know, you say Play-Doh, they know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would probably put it at 5 if I was putting it on that list. Not gonna lie.
I would agree with that.
I'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could live with Play-Doh at 5.
Yep. Yes, Allie, I was debating between that one and that one, what you just suggested. I won't put it in the chat because I'm sure someone else is going to say it, but it was one of the two and I chose Play-Doh. Who's up?
That would be me.
Pick away, sir.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Hot Wheels.
Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
Again, wow, the boys are picking all the boy toys, guys. That's the shock of all shock. No, I'm just kidding. Jess, go ahead.
Well, as a kid, there were Transformers and Hot Wheels for me. You know, can you tell I'm a car guy? FYI, I'm a car nerd. I love cars.
By the way, help me out with something. What was the difference between Hot Wheels and Matchbox?
So Hot Wheels were the original, and they were all metal. Matchbox, I don't believe were ever all metal. Now, they may have come with all metal special editions at one point, but when they came out, they weren't metal. So the Matchbox had the
Matchbox
the metal
before Hot Wheels.
But say
was
Matchbox
it really?
Actually predates Hot Wheels. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Well, Hot Wheels had the metal frame, the metal chassis on the bottom, where Matchbox was plastic.
So the difference between Hot Wheels and Matchbox was Hot Wheels focused on a better driving system. a Hot Wheels car could move faster than a Matchbox car. They worked on the
gotcha.
axle. That was
Right.
that was their biggest selling feature. So when they hit the market in the late 60s, that's why it took off, because it drove faster. It was a better driving car than the Matchbox. Matchbox focused on the design and the
sculpt.
detail. Yeah, the detail, the accuracy. Hot Wheels made crazy designs. They also did, some accurate cars, but for them, it was all about speed and maneuverability.
I mean, Hot Wheels, you got to remember, I mean, they had all these tracks that you could get, right?
And I wish that was another thing that my friends would have, and I'd be like jealously looking on.
Like, and I say Hot Wheels as my pick, but I think Matchbox and Hot Wheels for me go together.
So dinky cars, basically, is what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would put it as Hot Wheels, because even now, so like when I hit the toy aisle, like if I'm on the road for work and I hit down in the States and I'm hitting Target, so I'm looking for Joe's or Transformers or something like that, you go into the Hot Wheels aisle, because that's the main brand that's sold. And it's amazing how many guys in their 70s will be in there buying Hot Wheels. And I've seen guys walk out of there buying cases of Hot Wheels.
My youngest daughter had an absolute fascination with Hot Wheels when she was younger. I would buy her Hot Wheels and she fucking loved them. Yeah.
I also think Hot Wheels, again, is one of those, much like Etch-a-Sketch, yo-yos, everybody had one. Now it's just
everybody had Hot Wheels.
Everyone had Hot Wheels. Like, I have a bunker full of G.I. Joe, but when I was a kid, I also had a bag full of Hot Wheels.
I guarantee you there's dudes out there with bunkers full of Hot Wheels. It's a there's probably how many different Hot Wheels has there been? There's got to be thousands of different variations of Hot Wheels, right?
I've seen, like if brand new G.I. Joe figures come out, you might get 4 or 5 guys scrambling to get them. And when the new wave of Hot Wheels come out, like, again, you get those 50, 60, 70-year-old guys like fighting over Hot Wheels, walking out of there with cases of them. So the collectible market on it is huge.
I would think that even today, Hot Wheels probably sell more than a lot of the toys on our list.
So Eric is saying, I just bought myself the Hot Wheels version of my truck to put on my dash. My dad and brother have their matching Mustangs in theirs. It's age transcending. Yeah. I mean, I was never a car guy, so I never got big into Hot Wheels, but I remember, I mean, everybody had them. So it's got to be up there, dude. Like, I don't know. Our list is getting real fucking tight up top there, but
Hot Wheels is the two brands that built Mattel is Barbie and Hot Wheels.
Right. So are you saying like Hot Wheels should be up with like number 2?
I mean, that's where I would consider putting it.
I would either say 2. I would say 2 or 3, just because of the.
Now, do you think though? And I know some of the girls in the chat have mentioned as far as Hot Wheels go, but I mean, it still seemed like a very boy-centric toy. I remember growing up, I don't remember any girls having Hot Wheels. I'm not saying that girls couldn't or they didn't, but I mean, overall, it was still probably a 90-10 split as far as it bought for boys and girls. So I don't know, like when I'm looking at something like Play-Doh, like it didn't matter what your gender, you could play with Play-Doh, like every.
But I'll make that argument for Barbie. Barbie, which is at our number 1, was mostly a female toy,
obviously.
Right?
But I mean, again, we also talked about its place in the collective conscious. Okay, scratch my argument then. You're not comparing apples and apples, and you're not. That's why you're laughing. But that's okay. No. It's okay. It's okay. The point is, if it has huge sales, everybody knows what it is. It has good market penetration. It has good penetration of the zeitgeist. It needs to be high up on the list.
It has good penetration.
It has good penetration. I don't think it should be number 2. I think that's way too high. But
Hot Wheels. So in 2022, Hot Wheels sold $1.25 billion worth of product.
In 2022.
Damn, son.
I mean, what other toy on this list has sold that kind of money at 2022? I mean, that's insane.
Star Wars probably. What was Star Wars for 2022?
Well, I don't know the details for 2022, but they say Star Wars has sold $14 billion.
Yeah.
Well,
Since
since the
77.
70s.
Yeah.
So even if you just look at Hot Wheels, like even if you look at Hot Wheels, if you just look at the past 10 years, if they've sold anywhere from 700 million to $1 billion, like there's a 13-14 billion dollar franchise.
Yeah.
Listen, man, this isn't my pick. So and this is not a democracy. This is a cheerocracy. So if you guys want to put it at 2, put it at 2. I think you're mental.
I
But
could
Jeff,
see
what do
Hot
you
Wheels
see it?
being
well,
2 or 3.
mine, you don't want to know where I for me, it's like 6 or 7. So, but
Really?
I'm fine with 6 or 7, like, but
yeah.
it's
But
just
if
one
you
of those.
want it higher than that, then I can absolutely be higher than that for sure.
I look at something 50 years from now, people are still going to have Hot Wheels.
Yeah, but
Hot
people
Wheels
are
is
still going to
never-
have Play-Doh as well.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. There are some of these that could disappear off the face of the earth, but I feel like there are others like Play-Doh that.
But what is the age? Like, when do you grow out of Play-Doh?
Dude, we have a game called Cranium that there's rounds and you can choose to sculpt a thing that people have to guess, and we use Play-Doh for that. Like, it's not. I still have Play-Doh in that. I could go grab a can of Play-Doh in my house right now that I have for me. It's not even for my kids. I have it for me.
Okay, fine. Okay. All right.
4, maybe 5, 3.
I mean, I will say this: you might have a can of Play-Doh in the house. I have a suitcase full of Hot Wheels in the garage, but I will give you this one. I'll put Hot Wheels at number 6.
So Teresa's saying 3. I'm seeing Megan saying 4 or 5. Erica saying 10.
Yeah,
6. No. I'm okay with 6.
No,
yeah. Ed's point, I think, is that 6 is kind of in the medium of where everybody kind of has it.
Yeah, that works for me.
I personally think G.I. Joe is way too high, but that's fine. Anyway, so 8. Susie says, "Look at that." Susie knows what's up. Do you know what it is? My final say on this: I feel like Hot Wheels don't get played with enough. That's all it ever was for me. Is that everybody had them, but they just, like, you have a suitcase of them, like, you don't play with, like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't even have them on display. You have them in a suitcase somewhere. Like, I just felt like everybody had them, but no one really played a lot with them. So
I played with my Hot Wheels a lot.
Did you? Okay.
Just as much as my Transformers. Actually, my Hot Wheels would get crushed by Transformers often during big battles and shit like that. So I play with my Hot Wheels all the time, and the only reason why I have a suitcase full of them is because they're my actual Hot Wheels from when I was a kid.
Nice.
Right? So no, I don't have them on display because most of them are busted up and broken, and
yeah, no, that's fair.
They're all 40-year-old little,
like us, 40 years old,
right?
busted and broken. It's just like us. Absolutely.
There you go.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which
I still get to say that
actually
for a few months.
is a good segue, because I think the next old and broken guy on the list is Mr. Ed.
Well, I've got a couple heavy hitters on my list, but then I keep looking, and I have a feeling one of my honorable mentions might knock a whole bunch out.
Yeah.
And as far as what I can see in the chat, nobody's mentioned it yet.
Yeah, I have a couple like that too.
And for a property that was worth $6 billion in 2013, Lego.
Yeah. It has been mentioned a couple of times in the chat. So I debated between Play-Doh and Lego.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, Lego is fucking huge. Lego is massive.
Not only is Lego massive, but it's never stopped growing. Right? It's not like some toys that were huge in the past that are still around, but that were huge. No, Lego just
Lego
gets bigger,
keeps building
bigger and bigger. There you go.
Yeah, a really good friend of mine, Fanboy30 is his Instagram handle. So Matt, who used to live in Nova Scotia, him and his partner both work at Lego headquarters in, I think it's Denmark. They're there. Yeah. I know. Yeah. Bonkers. In 2021, the Lego brand was valued. So just the brand was valued at $9.1 billion. So that's not even like sales or any of that noise. That's not revenue.
just company
That's
value.
valuation.
The band itself, yeah. Revenue according to Wikipedia in 2021, $43 billion. Sorry, 43 billion, whatever the Danish use for money.
Paste.
Is it a kronen or something like that? It's KR. Hold on, I'm gonna do some.
Is that the valuation or is that the sales?
No, that's revenue. KR to
Now
USD.
that could also
it's
be not.
Sorry, go ahead.
That could just be also everything Lego, because like Lego's branched out into, there's the Lego video games and there's all the other Lego properties.
Oh no, for sure.
Not just the building bricks.
No, but have you ever gone out to buy Legos? Like the sets?
Well,
fuck man. That shit's expensive as hell.
So the big sets can cost thousands of dollars.
Like
it's insane.
What?
Just
but even the small sets. Yeah,
I don't know. I'm trying to some of the Star Wars ones, right? They're the Razor Crest. That was like a $300 set.
No, it's bonkers. That shit is so expensive.
Jamie says, I buy my husband Lego, but only on sale. Yeah, I mean, it's insane. And they have crazy set, like massive sets. Guys, Lego has a game show on TV called Lego Masters, where they've got professional Lego builders facing off, doing crazy. Listen, if you haven't seen Lego Masters, guys, go check it out. Like, we watch it with the kids. Kids love it. It's a fantastic show. I'm
around 90 years, by the way. Just celebrated their 90th anniversary.
That's nuts.
And still one of the most popular toys on planet Earth. Bonkers.
I'd probably say, now thinking about it, it was my honorable mention, but how could it not be number 2?
It has
Lego is
it has to be number 2.
Yeah, I think
it's
so.
worldwide. Like again, like I said, you'd have to go into like some jungle somewhere to find someone that hasn't heard of Lego.
Yeah.
And it's also Lego too. So like the patent ran out on Lego, so other companies can now make, Lego
knockoff Lego
building blocks. Yeah.
So if you figure you've lost your patent, other people can make your product, and you're still selling 43 Danish marks, 43 million or 43 billion Danish marks. Like, it's the brand. It's the brand that's carrying it. It doesn't matter. Like, a building block is a building block, but people are buying into the product. That's Lego.
Yeah, and it's also one of the most durable products that's ever been made on the planet. It takes almost a ton of force, 950 pounds of force before you would finally actually break a Lego from the weight of whatever you're putting on top of it. That's how well the Lego is designed, Lego bricks. Crazy.
I think what really differentiates Lego from the other brick builders or brick manufacturers is the sets. Sorry, not the sets, the branding sets. Yeah. The Star Wars Lego, the Harry Potter Lego, the Jurassic Park Lego, the Batman Lego, there's Lego everything. Right?
I mean, you know what? We could make an argument for it being number 1.
Yeah, you could make an argument for it being number 1.
I'd be okay with it number 1 as well.
I mean, we were talking about how they're making a Barbie movie or whatever. They've already made a bunch of Lego movies, cartoons, comics.
Right now,
I mean,
yeah, I'm changing.
Yeah, they have Lego stores. Like they have stores that have nothing in them but Lego. Like,
yeah.
Honorable mention, Ed. There you go. There's our Mr. Pringles. Where's Michael Myers? There's our Mr. Pringles for the mustache guy. There, or Yosemite. There's your Yosemite Sam pick for the mustache guy. That's Lego number 1. Yeah, got to be number 1. Well done, guys. Well done.
We've been on for quite a while now, so we gotta get our way working. I've got a couple more that I think need to at least be mentioned. Jeff, where are you at on your list? How many?
I honestly, I've just been picking. So you know what? I'll just fire some out, and you guys can tell me if you think it should be in the top 10 or just use your gut instinct. All right, and just tell me if the frisbee.
I mean, the frisbee might be like top 15, but I don't think it breaks the top 10.
I put it as an iconic toy, but not to crack the top 10.
Yeah. The Slinky.
I mean, again, it's an iconic toy, but
I put it the same as an Etch-a-Sketch. Everyone had one.
Nobody used it.
After a couple minutes, okay, I'm done.
Okay, give me a couple
Doesn't
more.
have that toyetic factor. Toyetic
Fair
factor
enough.
is
Silly Putty.
Same as Play-Doh, pretty much. Just doesn't have the same marketing.
Yeah, I mean, it was Silly Putty was a little bit different, but yeah, I mean,
okay, I am going to mention one, and it's kind of, it might be a sneaky one like Lego, but it may not be. I don't know. It's not quite as high, but I'm going to leave you with Nerf.
Yeah. So my problem with Nerf is that Nerf is like saying Mattel, right?
Because they make a range of products. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, Nerf make Nerf guns. They make Nerf balls. They make Nerf pool toys. They make Nerf.
That's fair. That's fair.
Almost everything, right?
Yep.
If you're talking about Nerf guns, specifically, like the Nerf blasters,
no, if it's not Nerf, I don't think it would. I don't know that it would crack the top 10. Because the only other thing. Wow, the only other thing that came to mind immediately was Super Soaker, but that would be like that for me. That would be like, no, I got the Nerf for nothing. I get you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Super Soaker would be the only other thing that I would think of that would be like, but again, same thing. Like everybody had a Super Soaker, but at the end of the day, I don't know that it would necessarily crack the top 10.
Yeah.
So, what about you guys as far as anything that's left over that you think would make a top 10 list?
I've got a few that I don't think were mentioned in the chat. My first one's the Rubik's Cube.
I had that as an honorable mention as well. Again, everyone had one. Depends on how passionate you are about it. I have a Rubik's Cube. For me, it's actually was my original stress ball.
Silly Putty and Play-Doh, guys, not remotely the same thing. Silly Putty, you would put on newsprint and it would like copy the newsprint off for you. It was like a photocopier for kids. Play-Doh, you'd like made into shit. And Silly Putty, you could bounce like a ball and everything else. Not remotely the same product, guys. But yeah, I agree. It's not like Play-Doh. It shouldn't be on the list. It was, again, a very moment in time kind of thing. So
yeah. So Rubik's Cube, you guys see that breaking the top 10?
No,
I don't think
iconic. So. Everybody had it. No one could solve it.
Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. I have a Mr. Potato Head Stormtrooper.
I don't know. I never had one. It was iconic,
but
yeah.
I mean, it's in Toy Story again. You know what I mean?
Yes,
like
he was in Toy Story. So was that toy. So was that badass toy phone. I was going to mention that too, but I don't even know.
Yes, I had one of those.
So did I.
think
you know what that
one?
And do you remember that toy? That would be, it was like on an angled stick with a handle, and it had the dome and it had the balls underneath and had the wheels.
Yeah.
And you would push it and it would pop the balls in the thing or whatever. As you can tell, I have no idea what it's called, but I remember that toy transformed me as a young child. I was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my whole fucking life.
So,
but again, I don't know if any of these crack the top 10.
Yeah. Army Men.
Same thing. Everyone had them.
I just feel like that was the precursor to Joe, right? Like that's basically
kind of work.
Yeah.
And then the last one on my list is Tonka trucks, which we spoke about
is on
earlier.
Tonka's on my honorable mentions.
Now, I could make a case for Tonka being on this top 10 just because, again, Tonka is still around. Now,
they still make Tonkas?
They do.
Huh.
They're all plastic now. They're not the
everything
same.
is. Yeah. That's
back then you had Tonka trucks that were articulated and it was crazy back then, but they still make them. Are they super popular? I don't know. really see a lot of them. But if you go to Toys R Us, they have Tonka trucks still.
I did not know that.
Well, I got a couple more on my list, and I still have a dark horse that might still crack the top 10.
Well, hit us with that first. 'Cause
Okay.
we're an hour and 20 in.
Okay, so some of the other ones that people 80s kids remember: DC Superpowers, Care Bears,
Yeah.
Thundercats.
Care Bear stare.
Yeah. Well,
Power-
again, the Care Bears, again, I feel like were a
Moment
bit
in
of a
time.
phase. They've come back since, but first of all, they're different now. And I don't think they're nearly as popular as they were. And then what was the next one?
Thundercats. That was another,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the problem with the Thundercats toys is that they sucked. The show is great. The toys
Not to put too fine a
suck.
point on it, but they were good.
Yeah.
Now, the other one that's on my list, I never owned it. I was never a huge fan at the time, was Power Rangers. I'm
Yeah.
getting more into it now with the 30th anniversary movie dropping yesterday.
Yeah.
But last on my list, and it is a $10 billion franchise,
Hmm.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes. Now we're back into the action figure world.
Yes.
10 billion?
10
Yeah,
billion.
I believe that.
Now, is it still in production?
Yeah.
Yep. It has never stopped.
Yeah.
Huh.
They have a ton of different series.
I never had one. I never had one damn one. I never had one. I remember watching that cartoon religiously. I don't think I ever had anything.
Really?
Yeah.
I had a couple of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like when they first came out. I had like a Michelangelo and a Casey Jones. It was never something I was into. I was about 13 at the time.
Well, Teresa's saying she owned them all, and Not Possible is saying she had everything TMNT.
Huh. I kind of feel like we were almost on that cusp of we were still watching the show, but maybe we were a little older and not interested in the toys. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
And also at that time too, I was investing into this collection behind me, my G.I. Joe collection, versus bringing on another one.
Yeah, but I'm even trying to remember if I knew other kids that had TMNT stuff, and we all watched the show, but I don't remember anybody having any toys for it.
It would have been the guy. So when that show came out, it would have been people like 8 or 9 years old. We would have been, 13, 14, 15 years old when that came out.
I feel like the show may have been of our time, but the toys weren't.
Cartoon came out in 1988. So we would have I would have been 13 years old when the cartoon came out.
Now, remember, Not Possible is listing off a bunch of stuff as far as like their merch, but we are talking about the toys specifically.
Yeah.
Because that's why I just got shut down on the whole Nerf argument. We can't talk about everything that they make. It has to be toys that are meant to be played with, that children are meant to play with, right? So,
yeah.
No,
and since
so TMNT is a $10 billion franchise, but that includes movies, that includes, like Jeff was saying,
that can't be the toys. There's no fucking way.
No, but when the toys came out, though, the toys were huge. I just can't get the exact numbers on what the toys. On
the
what
TMNT pizza shooting van. I remember that.
Actually, it says here $1.1 billion worth of turtles were sold in the. So between 1988 and 1997, $1.1 billion were sold in 4 years.
That's nuts.
Is it though?
1988 and 1997. That's 9 years.
No, 9 years. It's not that huge.
It's reading Wikipedia.
No, I know.
Between 88 and 97.
Listen, that's not that huge. In that time, in the 80s and 90s, 1.1 billion in 9 years is not that huge.
About 1.1 billion of Turtles toys were sold for 4 years, making them the third best-selling toy figure ever at the time, behind G.I. Joe and Star Wars.
Back in 80, whatever. Yeah.
So
it's up to you guys. So it would supplant He-Man. So which do you feel would be the bigger
I would say Turtles. I would say Turtles.
I don't know. Again, because I again, it's one of those things where they weren't of our generation, right? All the
Yes.
toys that we've listed here are toys that, or at the very least of our generation or before, toys that we would have played with. It's hard when you're getting toys that you're not going to necessarily.
I would even
played with
say
a lot.
there are people who were about 5 or 6 years younger than us that were Turtles fans. They're early 40s guys who owned all the Turtles. And I would probably say you could easily put Turtles at like 7 or 8.
So
I don't know, what does
you're
the chat think? Does the chat think the Turtles should go in the top 10? Natasha right here says Ghostbusters toys, or more appropriately, the real Ghostbusters toys, because they were the toys were branded from the Ghostbusters cartoon, not the Ghostbusters movies. But they were, I don't think they were top 10. But yeah,
They
Ninja Turtles.
the real Ghostbusters is an iconic toy. And I
moment in time though.
Again, it was a 4-year window.
I think the argument for Turtles over He-Man would probably be the fact that they are still making Turtle shit, right? Because they keep reinventing and they keep bringing the Turtles back.
They never stopped.
There's a new Turtles show coming on Netflix, by the way, guys.
Yeah, well, there's a new movie coming too, right?
Yeah, well, there's a new Ronin-based movie coming.
Yes, and then they've got the Nickelodeon movie or whatever that Seth Rogen's producing.
Oh yeah, the new animated movie as well.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So Megan's saying, or Jamie's saying 6, Megan's saying 4, Tana's saying 8.
4. Oh.
Yeah, no.
Whew.
I can't.
It's not going above Hot Wheels. It's not going above Hot Wheels. It's 100% not going above Hot Wheels. If you want to put it at 8, I can live with it at 8.
I don't think you can put Turtles above G.I. Joe because G.I. Joe was more influential than Turtles when Turtles came out.
And you're definitely not putting it over Hot Wheels or Play-Doh. There's no fucking way it's more popular than Play-Doh. Don't get the fuck out of here. There's not a question. It does not beat the oven. Toxic Fox says, yeah. I would be fine at 8. I don't think it should be any higher than 8, and I would make an argument for either 9 or 10, to be perfectly honest with you. But I think the Turtles franchise is really based on the cartoon, the comics, the movies, like the visuals, as opposed to the toy. I'm not saying the toys don't sell. Obviously they do, but
you go to a toy show, you go to Value Village, your local thrift store, you'll always find Turtles.
Really?
Yeah.
I just don't shop for toys enough, I guess.
There's a lot of Turtles out there.
I always go by basically what my kids do too, and none of my kids have ever. I don't know if my kids even know who the fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are, and none of them have ever once in their lives inquired to me or asked me for a Turtle toy. So
again, it's surprising because the Turtles have there's always been a version of the Turtles on the air.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right. There's always some Turtle show or movie, or like it never stops. So again, I'm surprised kids aren't into it. Same thing with Star Wars, right? Like I was asking my kid today, like, are the kids at your school into Star Wars and Star Trek? And he's like, nobody gives a shit about that. Like today's the young generation of today, they don't like that type of stuff. They're into this, right?
Someone's buying and watching all that Star Wars shit. I don't think it's all adults as far as the sequel shit goes, but.
Well, still, I don't know. I feel like the kids aren't into.
Force Awakens made $2.5 billion at the box office. Someone went and saw that fucking movie. That's for goddamn sure. Anyways,
I'm sorry, but it's not a kid paying $20 to go see a movie at the theater. It's the parents.
I know it's the parents, but the parents are dragging their kids. Anyways, well, we've talked about it. We'll have the big Star Wars discussion again.
I would say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 8 or 9.
Yeah,
I'm fine with it at 8.
All right.
I don't think it can be higher than 8.
Wow. A last minute. What did you call it, Ed? One of
the dark horse.
No, earlier you called it one of your honorable mentions.
Yeah,
and
he was actually on. 10. He was actually Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was on my main list until get looking at Lego, and then Lego ends up being number 1.
It has to be. It absolutely has to be.
Yeah, and I didn't have Lego at number 1 on my list. I had it lower, but I agree. Like,
Yeah.
It's hard to argue with the sales, the popularity, the longevity, the knockoffs, the branding, the Lego.
Yeah, Lego, dude. Absolutely.
Folks, Lego, number 1 toy of all time. Well, retro toy.
Supplanted Barbie. Yeah, retro toys. Yes, retro
And
toys.
I feel like
yes.
is Lego even? Can we even consider it a retro toy, considering that it's still so fucking popular?
Well, it's 90 years old though, too, right? So I think we have to consider it a retro toy. You could buy Legos when you were a kid. I mean, I'm the oldest guy here, and I could get Legos when I was a kid. I mean, we didn't because we couldn't afford them, but I mean, still.
Yeah. This is gonna do it for the top 10 list, folks. If you don't agree, let us know.
And you won't.
Leave us a comment
You
below.
never do.
Because they never do, and that's okay. Thanks everybody for watching, everybody for commenting. I know there was a bunch of people that came by we didn't get a chance to talk to or answer, but we love you guys being here in the interaction, so please don't stop. Mr. Eduardo,
Yes.
Hey,
you've been out of commission for a while. Where are people going to get to see you next?
Well,
Spilling the beans right here, right now.
next Wednesday, going to be heading to Calgary Expo. So really excited to be able to go there. I'm going to be partnering up with Cosplay Entertainment over at the eBay booth, which was super popular at Toronto Comic Con. So I'm going to be there as Deadpool next Friday.
Very good, very good. Are you gonna wear your boot? I'm assuming still, right? Like
Yeah.
you can't just take
Yeah.
that off yet. I mean,
I can if I stand in one spot for a while. I can take my walking boot off if people aren't following along. Yes,
be safe.
Toronto Comic
be
Con.
safe.
So
People aren't going to be
By,
taking pictures of your feet, bud. So you know.
Hey, it's Rob Liefeld. He couldn't draw feet worth of shit anyways. So
big giant shoulder pads.
yeah.
I mean, you're obviously going to be at all the cons in Toronto this summer.
Yeah.
Where can people find you online? Anything you want to pitch? This is the time.
All social media, you can find me under Snowhawk Cosplay. Unfortunately, I haven't had much content to post lately. I have can't really put on too many suits, and I've been in a bit of a funk as far as posting. But if you enjoyed all this good, fun toy talk, you can tune into anywhere you get your podcast to the True North Nerds Network, the third Thursday of every month. God, words are hard. Third Thursday of every month, we drop Tales from Collectiverse. That's where my co-host Ryan Parent and we talk about toys. Some of our features every month is Six Figures a Month, future toy report, and also Talking Toys, where we get to talk about old shit. So basically toys that we liked when we were kids. And pretty much most of the stuff we talk about here on this list, we have mentioned at some point over our show. We've been doing it for 3 years. So we're going to be recording season 3, episode 4 very shortly here. So be dropping in the next week.
Say his name again.
Ryan Parent he's my co-host.
I'm going to tell him that you had to take a second and think before saying his name there.
The problem is my son's name is Ryan, so we have to. It gets confusing around our house when Ryan comes over for dinner, because if you yell Ryan, you have to figure out which one are you yelling at.
Ryan and Ryan.
old hashtag old man problems.
Yeah. Exactly. Mr. Jeff, I believe next coming up for you is
CK Expo.
And that is this weekend, is it not?
It is not. Thank God. It is next weekend.
No?
CK Expo is on April 29th at the John D. Bradley Center in Chatham, Kent, Ontario. It is $15 to get in. It is a wonderful one-day con. It is a non-profit con, so all proceeds go to the Big Brothers Big Sisters of Chatham, Kent. So please come out to that event. It is much, much fun. I am the host of the cosplay contest. This year we have beginner, intermediate, and advanced. We have cash prizes for them as well, guys. It's sponsored by Lindy Cosplay Supplies and Lens Mills Stores. And this year we introduced a new category, a group category. One thing to note, by the way, guys, I'll say really quickly, our cosplay contest is a cosplay contest. It is not a craftsmanship contest. There is a play aspect of it. It is not just, is all your foam right and your seams right and your 3D printed perfect. It's, do you know your character? Portray your character. Give us a little whatever. Like there's a miscongeniality portion of it that you have to hit if you want to be able to win. It's not just based on your craftsmanship. After that, of course, on May the 4th in London, Ontario, Canada, the Geeks and Company proudly presents May the 4th
beer.
Be with you.
Oh, sorry.
At the London Brewing Cooperative. London Brewing Cooperative has partnered up with us to the point where they're making us our own fucking beer.
Guys, I know we've been talking about potentially getting a beer, and then we kind of dropped off the map, the face of the earth. It is official now.
It is official. It will be a honey brown lager.
Mm-hmm.
It has already been mixed. It takes about 2 weeks. So the honeys, I've got a video of them pouring the honey into the big kettle pot. I believe it will be May the 4th be with a bumblebee there with you on the label with our brand and logo and London Brewing Coop's brand and logo. All proceeds for that, which is also a charitable event, are going to Dad Club London, which is partnered up with Ronald McDonald House. And right now we are getting a bunch of different prizes because we're going to have multiple raffles going on. And we're going to have a Star Wars-based trivia at 7 o'clock as well. So it runs 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Thursday, May the 4th. It is absolutely free at the London Brewing Co-op here in London. Come on out. I've already got confirmation from a whole pile of different cosplayers coming out. Probably going to have at least 20 or 30 of us there, plus all the patrons that are already going to be there. And someone's adding something to the raffle list up there. You can get a J.S. Belanger 1701 original crafted Revan helmet. Fully done for your head, so you can get started on your own cool Revan cosplay. So come on out, guys.
It's
That's
for
okay.
big heads. Now, if it's too big for your head, you can always display it on the shelf.
That's right.
But, you know, there's going to be a bunch of raffles, actually. We, again, I don't want to necessarily start talking about who is giving what, just because I don't have all the details in my hand here, and I don't want to butcher it because I don't know a lot of these organizations, but there's going to be a bunch of raffles. Again, all proceeds going to Dad Club London and the Ronald McDonald House.
Yes, sir.
That's really our next big event. After that, I don't think I'll be at any event until Fan Expo, which is going to be at the end of the summer. So,
yes, I've got a few that's in between there, but
maybe we'll see about organizing an event for this summer. Maybe we can organize another Geeks & Co event.
Yeah, absolutely. We should absolutely do that.
So, and maybe get some of you guys out and hanging out with us.
Have the faithful come on out and meet us and hang out and have good times.
Ed, thank you so much. I'm sure you're wanting to, get some rest here and get your foot up in the air or whatnot, but thanks for coming, man. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me and let me talk about something I'm passionate about.
Well, hey,
it was a no-brainer to have you on this one for sure.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
The first one, when I forget who suggested the retro toys, I think it was Jen. I was like, oh, we should have Ed on the show.
By the way, Ed, can you?
Is anybody good for toys? It should be Ed.
Can we kill the screen share and get Ed to give us one more little video tour of the bunker? Because
all right, so there we go. Get my computer up here. So here we go. This is my bunker. This was my 2020 project.
Oh, look at this.
And so this is 40 years of collecting G.I. Joe. I have everything from some of the first figures that ever came out to stuff that's come out recently. So this is where we record the podcast. This is where I just come to de-stress and hang out. And as you can see, I got I drink beer. And if you can see here, I got a whole bunch of stuff that still has to be opened up.
Oh, that's nuts, dude. You've got so much toys. You haven't even opened them all up yet.
No.
Oh, I've got tons of stuff here. I've got books.
We screwed up the...
Don't leave it on there. Oh, God. No one wants to see that. I'm so sorry. It's not...
Sorry. I'm trying to figure out why my presentation tab is all screwed up now. There we go. Thanks, Jeff.
Are you new? All right.
Appreciate it, bud.
I think we lost Ed.
Yeah, I think so.
His internet was getting wonky anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we didn't get a good look at his cave there because his internet is getting really, really choppy. But we saw it earlier on the pre-show, and it looks impressive. Well, there you go. There's that. Again, Ed, if you listen to this after the fact, thanks, bud. We really appreciate you coming. Jeff,
Sir,
thanks again.
you compadre, anytime.
I'll see you next week on the podcast and in 2 weeks at London Brewery Cook-Up.
Star Wars. Yeah, dude, of course, absolutely. And by the way, guys, yeah, that's it. The after show is done for now. So go watch them. Should be out in the next couple of days. Our final episodes of both The Mandalorian and Picard. But don't you worry, the podcast ain't going nowhere. Every Thursday at 7 o'clock, it will be right here, live on YouTube and Facebook.
That's right.
Join us. It's fun.
I hear Jeff also has a Star Trek rant he's been wanting to record lately, so keep an eye out for that.
He does. He will. It will happen.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Stay geeky. We'll see you next week. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Geek Boutique Podcast. Like always, if you prefer to listen to us, you can find us on all major podcast platforms. Now, make sure you don't forget to click that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell to make sure you never miss anything.